We're at the San Paulo train station, taking a train to Ostia Antica, which is an old Roman fishing port.
Is that it?
That's a little beat up. Public fountain. A lot of these in Rome and outskirts. So maybe 10 miles outside of Rome now. You just fill up and they just keep running. It's be a little bit uneven. Can't complain though. It's 2,000 years old. Chariot scene.
To a pagan, the closest thing to an afterlife was to be remembered. If their families could afford it, they placed the tomb on the roadside with a thumbnail bio carved into the stone that all could read as they came and went. For example, my name was Caius, I was a baker. This area is called a necropolis, city of the dead. Christians preferred the term cemetery, Greek for resting place. Also lining the road, you'll see a few sarcophagi, small stone coffins, and statues which honor the dead. Burial practices changed over the years. In BC times, the remains were placed in these room-like tombs. After the 1st century AD, cremation became popular, so this necropolis also has some family member sepulchres marked by arches, lined with niches for ashlar urns. 2nd and 3rd centuries AD, the Roman...
Okay, this is the 2,000-year-old wall in Ostia Antigua, and what is interesting to me is that these stones are the same stones that we see everywhere that the roads are built out of in Rome. Just looking at the stones again, they're identical to what we see in all the roads. They're just, and they taper like that. And yeah, it must be like some quarry that's the perfect source for these things.
Looks for urns.
It's a pretty intricate setup here with lots of small nooks for urns, for ashes. I can't tell if this says something about the person's life or not, but then there's just more stuff in the woods here, which is probably how the whole place looked before it was excavated and explored. So these people were not Christians, they were pagans. I think they converted later than a lot of the people in Rome. There's a good bust over here. Let me show you. It's missing a head. They're both missing their heads. But somebody whose family had money and they liked to wear a toga when they were alive. So this right here was the city gate, and so the necropolis was outside the city, and they locked the city gate at night. So as you entered the city, you could store your goods in this warehouse to the right, and then there's a statue of Victoria over here on the left, and I missed it when we were walking in the gate, but then you have a trough there, which is now on the right of the gate. It's what the fence goes around. That was for watering your animals as you came in. This is a pretty nice 2,000-year-old mosaic by the statue of Victoria as you come into the city. Here's another building with a neat mosaic floor. So now we're walking along the street, and these are the remains of lots of little shops. Actually had a lead pipe with a valve on it. This was a bathing complex called Neptune's Baths, and you can see on the sign right here. That's what it says, Neptune's Baths. So now we're up on the roof of a building in the bathhouse, so you can see the mosaics on the floor of Neptune's Bath. And then you can see quite a bit of the city from up here. So now we're going up to the amphitheater. So in the 1900s, this amphitheater was reused, and here's a production called the Cyclops. That guy looks like the Cyclops right there. Here's some art that was drawn up for the costumes, and there's some advertising for the play. But they did the play in this ancient amphitheater to try to bring it back to its original purpose. Wow. So here it is. This plaza faced the Tiber River, and it was the hub of commercial activity around the Tiber. Got some more mosaic floors. Here's more mosaic. Not sure what that one has to do with some fish. Here's another one. Some fish and some ships. This is something that starts with Navi. Navi meant ship. And more. We got some big fish. We got somebody riding a fish. Navicularum. Guess that means port. I don't know. Chiare? I don't know, but I think each one of these would have been a commercial shop of some kind for this port on the Tiber. There's an elephant right there. And another ship. So we were just thinking this is on the mouth of the Tiber because we're pretty close to the Mediterranean. So these would have been ships that could have gone out into the Mediterranean, I believe. They weren't just river ships. Here's another one. Well, maybe this was just a lot of competing shops that all did the same thing. I really don't know.
It was the West Marine of 1 BC.
Yeah, the West Marine of 1 BC. But they had pretty fancy floors. Yeah, there's a good looking ship. I don't know what this one was. Early Pac-Man. And this one looks like maybe a map of rivers. Oh, we got more animals. We got an elephant and a stag and a really big warthog, it looks like, over there. So this says the motifs depicted were linked to commercial activities. The presence of inscriptions mentioning corporations of traders, ship owners, and entrepreneurs from both Ostia and elsewhere. So this was a warehouse owned by 2 Greeks who were formerly slaves, must have achieved their freedom, and they had a business. Back here. Oh, and then up on the wall here it says Terme de Budacosis. I can't really read that, but that was his. He owned the private bath here, separate from the public bath. Looks like he was pretty excited about his work. This floor is held up pretty well. I think this is some kind of a temple, because it has these pillars here and maybe a shrine back there. Oh, and then there's two kissing individuals there. More nice floor. Oh, and that one says, that's what that says. Okay, I got the scoop. It was an aristocratic residence with a statue depicting Cupid and Psyche. This is the remains of a basilica, which is not a Christian basilica, not a church, but a pagan basilica used as a governmental site to administer justice. And this one is the Capitol, which was not a government building, but a shrine, a temple dedicated to Juno, Jupiter, and Minerva, and it was built in the 1st century BC, and it was built on top of an older structure, and it was covered with marble originally, and now all that's left is the brick. You can see some of the city from up here, for sure. There's the temple of Jupiter, Juno, and Minerva right there. And there's a basilica across the street from it. This was a wine bar. See, nice tile floor, vaulted ceilings. So there was a place. This shows what foods were served here. I believe this was for dishes. They had marble dishes. This too, for marble dishes. And areas for washing the dishes, I think might have been in there. And then over here, this thing on the floor was for keeping foods cool that might be served. And somewhere in the back, not sure what that was. Somewhere in the back there's a terrace with a fountain, so guests could sit out, probably over here, so guests could sit out back. Yeah, this was the terrace with a fountain, so guests could sit out back and enjoy their wine and their other treats that they had. I've got my train ticket, and to get into the station, my machine came out the top, the doors open. Now my ticket has something printed on it, which they don't check on the train anyway. Now we're waiting for the train at the station, so it's just outside. Here's the train from Rome. No, yeah, from Rome.
It hasn't been cleaned since 1984.
We're just waiting for it to rain. It's not so bad inside though.